Ooh, that's not the one I want. A lot of this math you've already done with similar figures. What we're going to do is just apply it. So today we're going to work on cross multiplying dividing for proportions. And then when we work on similar figures, what are they? How do you name them? How do you find corresponding sides? How do you find corresponding angles? That's what we're working on. Okay. We're going to do kind of 2 lessons all together, and then you get on your homework time. That way people doing projects can work on their projects. So some people still have a bit to finish up. They can get working on that right away. So first lesson, proportions. You looked at this before, it's proportional reasoning. First of all, we have our ratio. A ratio is just comparing 2 numbers. So you can write it in 3 ways. Please open this up, page 3. Turn to page 3. Turn to page 3. First, you can write it as a fraction, or you can write it in words using the word 2. Or you can use a notation by using the colon. What we're going to find in this unit is we do a lot of the first one and a lot of the third one. Okay, a lot of the first one and a lot of the. Okay, hopefully this works. So we're going to have to go a lot between the top one is a fraction and the bottom one is a scale. There you go. So between those two, okay, so write that down. So how we do that, if you have 9 over 16 or 9 dot dot 16, the 9 goes on top, and so your fraction's 9 over 16. The bottom is the back number, all right, 9 over 16. So keep in mind, if it's in as a fraction form, when you go in the other direction, the 9 falls in front. You guys okay with that? Now it's kind of like a fraction, so you can reduce it to lowest terms. So we have 150 over 15 right here. We can divide this number by 3, both the top and the bottom, and reduce our fraction, and we get 5 and 50 on the top. And then you can reduce it again, divide by what? 5, divide by 5, and you get 10 over 1. So 10 over 1 is lowest terms, but these 3 fractions are equal to each other. Okay. You could also do it in one step and go 15, so 150 divided by 15 equals 10 over 1. We can do the same math if it's in the ratio in this format. So in this format, we could divide by 3, and this is how I like you guys to show your work. Just use an arrow showing that both sides are divided by 3. And you would get 50 over 5. Then divide by 5, again showing your work by writing an arrow. I know that arrow is really, really hard to write, but suck it up, Buttercup, get it done. Okay, 10 dot dot 1. Okay, so you can use these just or treat these just like fractions, reducing the left side, reducing the right side by dividing by the same number. Questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so that's working with the ratio. When you have 2 equal ratios, you actually get a proportion. So this here is in a proportion. Now, you can also use these fractions from up above. Here are the proportion, the full proportion could be 150 over 15 equals 50 over 5 equals 10 over 1. Those 3 are equal. So this is a 3 fraction proportion. What they did is they just simply took the first one, since they're all equal, they just took the first one and the last one and made those equal to each other. But all 3 of those fractions have the same value. That's why the equal sign is there. They all have the same value. Okay. Any questions? Today we're going to look at solving the proportion. You've already done this already. Please write down the work the way I'm showing it because it'll be more familiar to you than what's written on the page already. So we have a simple proportion. It is x over 3 equals 2.1 over 4. Okay. Now this proportion is easy because we're trying to find x when x is on top. That's the easiest question. So what we have to do is get rid of this divide by 3. In order to move it to the other side, we do the opposite. What's the opposite of dividing by 3? Timesing by 3. So we write down x equals, make sure you have your equal sign here. I don't know why you guys don't copy notes very well. X equals 3 times 2.1 divided by 4. You have to remember our fraction line is a divide by line. So then we can write down another equal sign and find the answer by using a calculator. So calculator should be up. 3 times 2.1 divided by 4. Try your calculator, make sure it's working properly. And we get 1.575. Did everyone get that on the calculator? Good job trying it. Yeah, that's right. Try it. If you wanted to round that, you would underline for 1 decimal, underline the 5, look behind it, and then you'd round that up to 1.6 because the 7 is 5 or higher. Okay. Don't worry about too much rounding this unit. It's just going to be a slight influence on your mark, right? Like maybe 5% overall on your project, nothing huge. But the work that has to be shown, I need to see the work. I need to see the work. You have the answer key, no work, no mark. Okay? Difference between 10% and 80% or 90%. Any questions? Yes, Logan? Yes. Pencils work easily for everyone. Okay? Any questions with this question? Cross multiply, divide. The only hard one is when x is on the top. Oh, sorry, the bottom. So say we have 18 over 19 equals 3 over x. Okay. So for this one, the x is on the denominator. There's an extra step. And mole, naughty, naughty. Good thing it was an appropriate video. So the first thing we have to do is get x on the top. So we have to flip the left side. If we're flipping the left fraction, so we get x over 3, what do we have to do to the, flipping the right fraction. What do we have to do to the left fraction to keep it equal? Flip it as well. So it becomes 19 over 18. Okay. Now we have a question similar to the other one up above. Instead of divide by 3, we bring it up and multiply by 3. So we get 19 times 3 divided by 18 equals x. So use your calculator, do the math, what equals x? Don't worry, I'll do it for you because I'm totally learning this. I've never done this before. Whoops. Is that the right answer? 7.125? Did someone get something different? I sure hope so. Let me try that again because I typed in the wrong number, you guys. Do your work. 19 times 3 divided by 18 equals 3.16. 3.16. So if I was going to round that, underline the 1, look behind it. It's 5 or more. So I should write down 3.2. Okay, 3.2. Questions, comments, or concerns? All right. This one gets a little tricky when you have a whole number. So we get 27 equals x over 3. You've got to make this a fraction to make things easier. Okay, what's 27 as a fraction? 27 over 1. So when we have 27 over 1, then we can cross multiply and divide. Okay, so here's our cross multiply and divide. I don't like you writing it this way. I rather see 27 times 3 divided by 1 equals x. Make sure you have an equal sign. Alex, equal sign. X equals, and then try this on your calculator, see what you get. Nicholas, what'd you get? 81, good stuff. Okay, x equals 81. Any issues with the calculators? Okay. All right, so that's the first lesson, assignment 1 you can complete. Remember, you don't need to flip it like for question 1 because x is on the top. But question 3, x is on the bottom, so you'll need to flip that first. Okay. Next part, assignment number 2. We're going to do the next lesson as well. So next lesson, now we get into specific stuff for this unit. For this unit, we're looking at similar figures. What does that mean? It means that you have the same shape. In other words, the figure has the same angle. Benson, write that down. Quit staring at your stuffed coin or whatever that is. So same shape basically has the same angles. Okay? And it's the same size. So really what it is it's just an enlargement or reduction. That's what we're looking at. So similar figures are an enlargement or reduction. Draw your arrow and underline enlargement or reduction. Underline enlargement or reduction. Underline enlargement or reduction. Underline enlargement or reduction. Okay. God, it took me 3 times to say that. Okay. So if you're looking at a shape, let's just see if I can draw one. This program is a little bit harder to do. Here we have a diamond. Okay. So if we copy that and then we paste it, the 2 diamonds now are congruent. That's the math word, means equal. Okay. So if I pull it in this direction, I'll be changing the angles. Oops, there we go. Come on now. Why do you not? Oh, because the mouse isn't working. I turned it off. Okay. So pointing in this direction, I'm changing the shape. Those 2 triangles are, those 2 diamonds are not similar anymore. Okay. But if I pull it right, now it's increasing proportionally. So all the angles are the same, it's just the sides are longer. Okay. If I copy this one, I can now have the exact same shape, and I can do a similar shape just by shrinking it or making it larger. Everything's increasing proportionally. Okay, it's increasing or decreasing by a scale factor. That's what the unit's all about. Everything's increasing proportionally. Okay, any questions? So what we're going to do then is we're going to learn how to name these shapes and how the names influence the angles that are equal and the side lengths that are proportionate. And we're going to work on writing the proportion, writing the fraction. Okay. So it's a little easier than what I'm just saying. Okay. We have corresponding angles. They are in the same relative position, and corresponding sides are in the same relative position. Okay. So a couple key things here. For 2 figures to be similar, you have to have equal angles and corresponding sides in the same position. So you need to have both. Triangles actually only need one to be true, but all other shapes, you need to have both in order to be true. Okay. So looking here at this shape right here, what we're going to do is figure out, based on the name, which angles are equal. Okay. So looking at the name, which sides line up? Well, angle A and angle W are the exact same position in the name, so those 2 angles are equal. Why? Because of the very first letters in the name. So in order to indicate angle A and W are equal, we can mark them with the same marking. Some of the markings we can use are a dot. So if A has a dot, what should the other angle be to indicate that's the same? They should have the same sign. Okay? So A and W are the same angle. Just like the second letter B, that angle B is the same angle as angle X. So I can use another symbol. You need to write this down. So for angle B, if I use an open dot, then for X, what symbol should I use? An open dot. Okay? So name is telling us that they're equal. What D and Z, they're the last letters, so they're also equal. So for D and Z, I could use a curve, right? I could use a half circle, and I would put one line through it. So for Z, I'd use a half circle. How many lines? One. Okay. Now what about Y? Notice Y is the second last letter. What letter is going to match up with Y? Someone said B, be C, because it's the second last letter. The letters match in the names tell it the letters in the name match up with the equal angles. There we go. So for C, if I use the half circle with two lines, what do I have to use for Y? The half circle with two lines. Okay. So looking over here, different symbols I can use. I can use a circle, a dot. I can use an open circle. I can use an asterisk. Sometimes I use a square. Okay. Sometimes I use one line with a half circle. Sometimes two lines. Sometimes three lines. I usually don't go four though. Okay. So lots of different variations there for you to choose from to figure out that angles are equal. Okay. Now, based on the names, I can also line up corresponding sides on top of each other. So let's say I wanted the right shape on top, then I put the left shape on the bottom. And there's four sides, so that tells me I'm going to have four equal ratios. Four equal ratios. So on the right shape, let's say I used WX. So I had WX on top. Now, that WX is the first two letters of the name. So what sides do you think have to go underneath? Probably the first two letters of the other shape, AB. Those sides correspond. They both are contained by the same angles. Watch. WX has the dot and the open circle. AB's angles are the dot and the open circle, except I just erased the open circle. There's the open circle. Okay. So they're contained by the same angles and they're in the same position in the name. Looking here, we have YZ. So if I have YZ up top, which side corresponds with YZ? CD, the last two letters. Okay. Up top, I have side XY, and I also have side WZ. What goes underneath? Nick, write it down. What goes underneath? Well, XY, those two letters are the middle two. So the middle two letters on the other name are BC. Okay. And what two letters correspond with WZ? Yeah, the outside letters. Okay, so we have the outside letters, WZ, so the corresponding sides must be AD. There you go. So those all will be the exact same ratio. All right. So angle symbol, angles that are equal, angle A equals angle W, and you use either, sometimes when I write it more like a sideways angle symbol, just to let you know. But the computer usually does the sideways L kind of for the angle symbol. So just be aware, a little bit difference when you write it. Okay. So those angles are equal, and these sides are in the same ratio. Now up top, I went right over left, but over here, I went left over right. It doesn't matter which one you put on top, which one you put on the bottom, as long as you're consistent every time. Okay, so you just have to be consistent every time. Good. Notice that we have the similar symbol. So a little squiggly line, that means those shapes are similar. Doesn't mean they're equal, just means that they're similar. Okay, questions, comments, or concerns? So your homework today, you have two parts. You have assignment 1. Okay. Assignment number 1, assignment number 2. Some people might want to do that for homework, and you might want to finish your projects first. Okay? To work, go.